Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Forest 0. Sam jumping back on the channel again. That performance to me is probably one of the most unprofessional performances we've had this season. I know we've got a point from the game. We've played a lot better than other games, obviously, and I've got nothing out of it. But that was absolutely awful. The first half was diabolical. It was almost like it was a training game, and it was Forest first team versus Forest reserves, and it was just like, right lads, we're going to work on a bit of shape. Let's just defend. Just defend for half an hour, 45 minutes. Let the first team have a go at putting some patterns of play together. That's what it was like. There was no urgency. It was so passive. There was just balls coming into the box and we weren't competing. It was like doing stupid clearances, just kicking them out of no, like blind passes. We give the ball away in our own third. Yeah, in our own final third. So many times. We was looking... I can see why the Forest fans are fuming they didn't get more out of that game, because we were absolutely awful in that. There was nothing from us. And then I felt sorry for Tolo and Armstrong. I mean, Armstrong's struggling here, isn't he? I mean, I'm not no issues with him as a signing. I think he's a good player for next season. But him and Tolo and Armstrong are so isolated up front. They're never ever getting in touch with the ball, really. The ball's getting banged up to Tolo, and it's either above his head so he can't even get near it, so he's not even jumping. It's anyway the side, so he's not even going for it. And then the ball that does get to him just bounces off his chest and he falls over, and then it's swept up by any other of the three Forest defenders that are around him. So there's nothing coming from that. And we struggled to build anything today. I think Mane looked tired. I said before the game on the last video, I said Mane probably should be rested for this game. He just looked a little bit. He needed a break himself. Angel Gomes wasn't as good as he was against Chelsea, because he didn't seem to have the same passing options on there. And then we just looked really flat. I can see why he made the changes about 60 minutes by the hour mark. He took Hugo Bueno off and Roger Gomez off. I could see that, because Hugo Bueno looked shattered and Roger Gomez didn't have enough in the tank to keep going either. Jackson Chua, first half seen for ages, nearly killed us with a header backwards towards Sarr. But it is what it is with him. And then Muller-Wolf didn't do too bad defensively, but then obviously not much going forward. That's part of his game. I just thought we looked out of ideas and we just didn't create anything. And I think first half, the worry for me was that we didn't, it looked like they didn't care. It looked like they was going for the motions. Whereas at least in the second half, in the second half they grew into it, in fairness to them. We had something more to defend and the pressure going to Forest. We then decided to defend a bit more as a team, but that was really poor today. There was no... To me, it didn't seem like Rob Edwards had much of a plan. Could be more things before I go. Yerson Mosquera, we've got to get his footwork moving better than what it is. The ball's coming to our box. You've got players either. You've got Krejci and Santibone next to him. The ball's coming in. Either one of them can head it. He panics, gets caught under the ball, heads it up in the air, heads it backwards behind him. He's doing a load of headers like that where he's flicking it up, his feet aren't in the right position. He's not moving quick enough. He's fishing slightly off. He keeps doing that. He's done that a few games of the bounce now for me. So he's got to get forward, take a few steps further back and attack the ball rather than getting caught underneath it or get your feet moving, because it's killing us. He did that a few times. He played us into trouble with that. And then last one, they could have won at the end. Obviously, Mane chance. That's the best bit of play we had, in fairness to him, where it was held up and then Tolo made the right decision. If he could have been a bit further forward in front of Mane to win it. If we'd have won it, that'd have won that in the end. That'd have been a complete steal. But overall, it's a point, but it doesn't feel like a good point at all. That it wasn't positive at all. It didn't feel like we'd learned anything. It didn't feel like we hadn't pushed on. If there's a few more games like that in a row, I think that's as bad as losing, because that's not good enough for Wolves, and it's not good enough for Wolves fans. And I feel sorry for the fans that went, because that was attack versus defence for 70, 80 minutes with a couple of chances in for us. So that's just not good enough, really, that one. Grimsby on Sunday in the Cup. Just got to try and get some confidence back here. Got to get through that game. Have to get through that game. It feels like for me now, Rob Edwards is on a tilt and now it could go either way. His season can either, his Wolves' career as manager, he's either going to go that way or that way now. Because I feel like the fans are starting to get a bit, they're getting a bit edgy about it. I think some want him gone already. And you can see things on social media that some fans want him gone already. But we'll see what happens on that one. Right, I'll catch you next one, Wolves fans. Cheers.
So I think that one probably falls under the tough watch label. Wolves eking out a point against Nottingham Forest. Very much uh, a hard fought point, you could say, but I think Wolves really did struggle for large parts of that game, particularly the first half, which was arguably one of the worst halves of football we've seen. We saw a reversion back to the back five with the two up top, Armstrong and Arokadare, the front two. But again, even with the change in system, again, we look defensively better. But I do think that the issue for Wolves, especially in that first half, was a real lack of an outball or an outlet. We just couldn't seem to get any momentum in possession at all. As soon as we were getting the ball, the in play possession was so bad, so sloppy. Wolves constantly misplacing passes, even simple passes. You know, you're not talking difficult or more progressive passes. You're talking 5, 6 yard passes in between teammates. You know, you're not talking anything particularly difficult. Wolves just made everything simple look a little bit difficult today. And the first half, honestly, was one of the worst halves of football I've seen. Forest absolutely battered us. No idea how they didn't score that 5 or 6 on one. Wolves let off the hook at times. And, you know, that's sometimes the luck that you need, really, in these sorts of games. Obviously, Forest are always going to try and take the game to us, but I just thought we were too negative and just too poor in possession. Second half was better, marginally better, and I say better because we actually had efforts on goal, we actually had corners, and we actually sort of made inroads into Forest's area. Again, fantastic save by Jose Sarr. I think that was really the big chance of the second half. Somehow saves Morato's effort. I've got no idea how he's got there. But the majority of the half was Forest having shots from the outside of the box, trying to whip crosses in that were cleared away. A few sketchy moments here and there. I thought the midfield battle was quite tough. I thought Angel Gomez and Joao Gomez were okay. They were decent. Angel Gomez, that is, his passing again did offer us, more so in the second half, did offer us a good way to kind of get out. And it was very obvious Wolves were trying to get the ball to him as much as possible because he's the one that can kind of spray those passes out wide. But yeah, I thought second half showed signs of improvement. Honestly, could have won it at the end as well. Mateus Mane with a really good chance to win it. And again, I think probably just a bit of a tired finish, just hits it straight at Ortega. But yeah, not a great performance. I think the lack of quality was really on show today and just disappointing, really. But we get a point, we get a clean sheet as well somehow. I think Forest had 34 shots in that game and we had 7. I think that's 34 has got to be close to some sort of record. So yeah, I think Wolves did well to get the point and get the clean sheet. It moves us on to 9 now, so only 2 points off Derby's record. So we're almost there. We were almost close to hopefully beating it. But yeah, not a fantastic performance by Wolves today. A lot of players underperforming, and I think the fullbacks and the wing backs in particular were limited today as well, which made a big difference. But look, if you play that badly and you get beaten that badly in terms of the stats, and you still come away with a point, I think for me, that's obviously a net positive, and Wolves have come away not losing. Which is good, and yeah, hopefully it gives us, it's another point to build off, and hopefully we can, try and at least perform a lot better than that against Grimsby on Sunday.
Forest nil, Wolves nil, and that has to be the worst point any team in the league is going to win this season. I mean, that was absolutely abysmal from start to finish. But look, it is a point. At this point, the only goal is to just beat Derby's record, or I guess avoid beating Derby's record. So, at the end of the day, we'll take it. Did have a chance to win it at the end with Mane, but that would have been highway robbery. I mean, they would have had to have formed a commission just to make sure that wasn't allowed to happen if we walked out of there with 3 points, because that was probably the worst performance in a season of just abject performances. I may be missing some. They've all blended together at this point, but I mean, there was the first 15 minutes of the game. I don't know if we had a pass in Nottingham Forest's half. Not even necessarily a pass forward, a pass into the final third, even just a pass, center back to center back that happened to be in the opposition's half. It was that bad. I thought Joao Gomez was terrible. He looks almost broken. I thought Krejci, terrible. Every time he got the ball, you were expecting him to either hoof it nowhere or to get himself into some kind of trouble. Tolu was the tough spot for him, obviously, being that isolated, but not his best game. He missed that header on the first half as well, which actually was a pretty decent opportunity. And yeah, just up and down the team, I think the only player that I thought could walk away with any sense of accomplishment was Hugo Bueno did a good job on Omari Hutchinson, who's there's a reason he's at Forest and not necessarily lighting the world on fire there. But yeah, just really poor. This team does not have anywhere close to Premier League quality, and you really saw that today. I mean, just in terms of, every pass is 1 yard wrong either side. Every layoff is just a little bit off. No ability to close men down and win the ball. No ability to have any sort of creativity when we counter. I can't. I'm running out of ways to talk about just how bad it was, but absolutely abysmal. It was almost surreal at times how poor this team was, and it does make you worry a lot about Rob Edwards, because if this is Wolves playing with no pressure, which you would figure would be the vibe, that's certainly what I'd be telling the team. Like, lads, let's be honest. We all know where we're headed, so no pressure. Let's try and play some decent footy. Let's try and string some decent passages of play together, score some goals, give the fans something to cheer about. If we concede a few, so be it. But that clearly wasn't the plan, because we sat pretty deep from the start. But also there was no indication of a plan on countering off that in any sense. I don't know. Things have seemed to regress very rapidly and very, very concerningly. So we'll take the point, but I do not feel good about it, and I would be shocked at any Wolves fan who feels good about it. If you're saying, all right, we escaped to the point, great, but what that performance, kind of what it suggests for the future going forward, totally outweighs going from 8 to 9 points in February. So really, really poor performance. We'll take the point, but God, that was fucking bleak.
Well, they finished Forest 0, Wolves 0 somehow, and you say you take them, really, you take the point and leave, really. I think the first half was atrocious. The second half didn't really get much better. A little bit of a couple of tweaks off the ball from Rob Edwards. Defensively looked a little bit more comfortable. Forest should have won the game, so they had a lot of chances, a lot of openings. Sarr made some really good saves, especially that double save was excellent. We just didn't create anything up until the very end of the second half. We had that chance at the end of the first half as well, but it was just, you take the point because it's how disappointing the performance was, and it's how lack of just like urgency, or the players just didn't look really bothered. Like, I don't know, especially in the first half, it just, no one could play like a simple 5 to 10 yard pass. There was no like rotations in midfield. There was no, triangles even. There was no like combinations between anyone really on the pitch, like on the ball. We'd try and play out the back, and it would go from, the centre half to left centre half, and it would go up top to Tolu. And then, like, no one's around him, or he wouldn't win the header, or he would chest it down and no one's there. There was just no combinations whatsoever. Angel Gomez and João Gomez felt like they were playing in, the wrong role. I felt like Angel Gomez probably should have been higher up, and João Gomez should have been the one that was dropping deeper, really. One of the, if you want to call it a chance, came from Angel Gomez picking up the ball higher up the pitch. And that's where he should be, trying to affect the game a lot more. yeah, I mean, it was really disappointing. Made a couple of subs. Obviously, Chatshaw came on. I mean, it was, yeah, it wasn't great. I thought Rodrigo Gomez was okay. Before he came off, I thought Hugo Beno was pretty poor. Wolfer was okay when he came on. I thought Krejci was probably one of our better players. Obviously, Mane as well was decent. Didn't really get a lot of the ball. Nor did Tolu or Armstrong, really, to be honest. More Armstrong, really, than Tolu. I just don't know whether them two really work at the moment. I don't know. It's only been a couple of games, obviously. It was really, really, really disappointing. That first half was like so bad. But it's a point, and you take it, onto the FA Cup. Hopefully you get through to the next round against Grimsby. But yeah, thank you, Dave, as always, for letting me on the channel.